7 canned foods are seeing prices move, and smart preppers are stocking up quietly before everyone else catches on. Most households think their pantry is fine, but if you actually count what's on that shelf, you'll discover an uncomfortable truth. They thought they had a week, but they have maybe 2 days. The cheapest, calmest time to fix that is always before you need it. Right now, when shelves are still full and prices are reasonable. I've ranked all 7, and number 1 will probably surprise you. It's the item almost nobody thinks about until they're standing in a dark kitchen wishing they had it. Number 7, scanned beans. Stay with me here because the ordinariness of this one is exactly the point. Black beans, kidney beans, pinto, chickpeas, navy, cannellini, whatever variety your household actually eats and will keep eating under stress. That second part matters more than most people expect. This isn't just about what stores well. It's about what someone will reach for on day 4 of a difficult week without needing to be convinced. Here's what beans actually give you: protein and dietary fiber. Same can at a price point almost nothing else on the grocery shelf can compete with. That combination is genuinely rare. But here's the part that gets overlooked. When normal cooking gets disrupted, no power, limited fuel, restricted movement, a can of beans asks nothing from you. You heat it if you can. You eat it cold if you have to. It feeds a person. That's the whole job. And beans do it every single time without fail. The real value shows up when cooking is actually possible. Beans stretch everything around them: rice, a few cans of beans, 1 can of meat, some basic seasoning. That's multiple real meals for a family of 4. Add tomatoes, which we'll get to in a moment, and suddenly you have something that genuinely feels like dinner rather than something everyone's tolerating because there's nothing else. Number 6, canned tomatoes. This one surprises people almost every time. Tomatoes don't sound like an emergency supply. They sound like something you grab for a Tuesday night pasta. And that instinct is precisely why they're so valuable and why most pantries don't have nearly enough of them. A can of diced or crushed tomatoes is the practical difference between a pantry that feeds people and one that merely keeps them alive. Those two things are not the same. One is sustainable across a hard week. The other starts breaking people down faster than the actual situation does. Here's what one can actually does in real cooking. It turns a pot of rice and beans into something with real flavor and depth. It becomes the base of a soup, the sauce for pasta, the liquid that carries a stew through. Without it, those same ingredients taste like obligation. With it, they taste like a meal someone actually made with intention. Diced and crushed are the most flexible forms to keep on hand. Tomato paste earns its shelf space, too. And here's why it matters more than most people realize. 1 small can of paste adds deeply concentrated flavor to a large pot of almost anything. When you're working with limited ingredients and trying to prevent the same meals from repeating endlessly, concentrated flavor does a disproportionate amount of work. Number 5, canned fish. This is where the value of the list starts climbing in a genuinely meaningful way. Canned tuna, salmon, sardines, mackerel, shelf-stable, concentrated protein, and they bring something to the pantry that almost nothing else at this price point can match. Healthy fats. Salmon and sardines specifically carry omega-3 fatty acids, the kind consistently linked to heart and brain health, delivered in a small can that costs a few dollars, sits on a shelf for years, and needs no refrigeration, no cooking, and almost no preparation at all. But here's what most people completely miss about canned fish. It's not really about the nutrition profile. It's about what happens on day 6. A pantry built entirely on rice and beans and tomatoes is nutritionally solid. It's also practically monotonous. And monotony is a genuine, underestimated problem during extended disruptions. When food stops feeling appealing, people start eating less than they should. They get irritable. Focus slips. Kids start refusing meals. Number 4, canned meat. Now, the list gets serious. Canned chicken, canned ham, corned beef, Vienna sausage, Spam, Canned beef. Whatever you personally think of any individual product in this category, the category itself solves a problem most households haven't fully worked through until the moment it's already happening. Here's the problem nobody sees coming. When power goes out, the clock starts immediately on everything in your freezer. A closed freezer holds safe temperature for roughly 48 hours. Then it doesn't. And everything inside, the chicken, the ground beef, the fish, the cuts you spent real money on, all of it goes on a forced countdown you can't stop. Think about what that actually looks like. A family with a well-stocked chest freezer might have 40 or 50 layabis of meat in there. Months of careful grocery budgeting, gone within 2 to 3 days of losing power. That's not just lost food. That's the loss of their primary protein source at the exact moment when stable, reliable nutrition matters most. Canned meat doesn't care about the power. It doesn't care about room temperature. It sits on that shelf ready for however long you need it to wait. Canned chicken drops straight into broth for a simple soup. Number 3, canned soups and stews. Soup sounds too basic to rank this high. It really isn't. Here's what people miss about a hearty canned soup or stew until the moment they actually need one. It is a complete meal inside a single container. Protein, starch, vegetables, broth, already cooked, already seasoned, already combined. When you open a can of beef stew or chicken and rice soup, the entire decision is already made for you. And that matters more than it sounds, especially by day 3 or 4. When a household is exhausted, managing children or elderly family members, or stretching limited fuel carefully across multiple days, mental load accumulates in ways most people don't anticipate. Removing even one decision per meal is a genuine, meaningful contribution to keeping everyone functional. The broth matters on its own terms, too. When stress is depleting electrolytes, when water access may be limited, when someone is physically run down, hot broth delivers fluid, sodium, and warmth all at once. Number 2, canned vegetables and fruits. We're near the top of the list now, and this is the category that fills the nutritional gap every single other item leaves behind. Beans, fish, meat, soup. They deliver protein, calories, and satiety. What they don't reliably give you is the steady, consistent intake of vitamins and minerals. The body needs to function well over multiple days and weeks. Fresh produce is the first category to disappear from store shelves during any regional disruption, and the first thing to spoil at home once the power's gone. Lettuce, peppers, berries. Their window is measured in days. Here's something that genuinely surprises most people when they hear it. The canning process locks in nutrition at the moment of packing, typically at peak harvest season. A can of green beans processed at the height of summer can hold its nutritional profile better than fresh green beans that spent 8 days in a refrigerated truck and another 4 sitting in the produce aisle. Canned isn't nutritionally inferior to fresh. It's a different format with a fundamentally different shelf life. And in a preparedness context, that difference is a significant advantage. Watch sodium on vegetables if that matters in your household. Rinsing canned vegetables under water cuts sodium content significantly. For fruit, lighter syrup or juice-packed options are consistently the smarter long-term choice. Better nutritional profile, and more practical to eat in any real volume. Don't build a wall of just 1 or 2 vegetables because they happen to be the cheapest option that week. Think in colors, textures, and how things actually get used in cooking. Green beans alongside a simple meat dish. Corn stirred into a soup. Mandarin oranges over oatmeal in the morning. Different crops don't all move in price at the same time. Variety protects your budget just as much as it protects your nutrition. These are the items that protect the long-term health of the people who depend on you most. The youngest and the oldest in any household are the most sensitive to nutritional shortfalls, a reserve built around their actual needs. Not just hitting a calorie target, but covering vitamins, variety, and palatability is a fundamentally different and more complete kind of preparation. Number 1, canned milk, evaporated and condensed. I know how this lands. After canned meat and fish and stew, canned milk feels like an afterthought. The kind of thing you pick up if you happen to think of it and quietly skip if you don't. It isn't an afterthought, not even close. And here's exactly why it's number one. Milk is perishable. The moment power goes out, the refrigerator starts warming. Milk is among the very first casualties. Here's the layer that genuinely pushes this to number one on the list. Canned milk reaches the people in a household who aren't loudly advocating for what they need. Older children and adults who rely on dairy for nutrition. People for whom a warm cup of tea with milk anchors the start of a morning in a way nothing else quite replaces. Households where dairy is deeply woven into how people cook and eat every day, often invisibly until the moment it's gone and suddenly everything feels slightly wrong. One thing to state plainly: evaporated milk is not a substitute for infant formula. Beans for the foundation, protein, fiber, and the meal stretcher that makes everything else go further. Tomatoes, to make that foundation taste like food you actually want to eat rather than something you're just getting through. Canned fish and canned meat, for shelf-stable protein that outlasts your freezer by years and covers the nutritional ground that plant-based foods can't fully reach on their own. Soups and stews for the complete low-effort meal that asks almost nothing of you when you have very little left to give. Vegetables and fruits to protect the health and morale of the people who depend on you most. And canned milk, a quiet, overlooked item that restores a whole category of normalcy that none of the other 6 items can come close to replacing. On your next grocery run, pick just one category from this list. Just one. Buy a few extra cans, not a full case, not a loaded cart, just a few more than you normally would. On the trip after that, pick another category and do the same over 4 to 8 weeks without spending significantly more than you normally do. You'll have built a real meaningful reserve stocked with food your household actually eats, built around how you actually cook, ready in the background for whatever comes. That's what real practical preparedness looks like. Not dramatic, not expensive, not assembled in a panic, built quietly, deliberately, before anyone else has a reason to start thinking about it. What's the one item from this list you're going to grab first? And what's currently missing from your shelf? Tell me below.